So we've got to talk about some things that I found as some great news for the Republican Party. All right. We're going to jump straight into it. I'm not going to do like a long intro or anything like that. All right. So here's the first bit of, hold on, wait a second. What in the world? There we go. Okay. So here's the first bit of great news. As you guys can see there on your screen, in the generic congressional ballot, Republicans are up +2 as of right now. Considering the fact that typically the party that's in power typically loses, that is a fantastic thing right there. That is absolutely amazing. We are up +2. Okay, that is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Now, I will say, this number means absolutely nothing if we don't show up. And that's typically been the problem for Republicans when Trump isn't on the ticket, when it's not, a big presidential election. That has been our problem. We don't show up. Okay. So it is very important that we finally show up the same way the Democrats do, because if we do, we win. All right. We win. No matter what these Democrats are out here pushing and trying to say, we win. And you know what else? Since Trump, started investigating Act Blue and investigating Democrat and shutting down USAID and investigating all of this fraud going on, you know what else has been interesting? How the Democrat donations have absolutely tanked. These are the numbers. Dominating. Democrats are melting down. Republicans have doubled the cash on hand for the 2026 midterms. Republicans are at $320 million, while Democrats are at $137 million. And then if you add in Trump-aligned groups, there's another $300 million. That's over $600 million in comparison to Democrats' $137 million. Yeah. And once again, I will say this, okay? Money isn't everything. We learned that in this past election where they spent over $2.5 billion on Kamala Harris and she still lost. But that doesn't mean that it means nothing. Okay. Money helps get people's names out, helps get especially as a Republican, right? Helps get the right information out, because that's what we're up against. We're up against a mainstream media who is constantly lying about the Republican Party and pushing Democrat talking points. And so for us, money, I think, means a hell of a lot more than it means to the Democrat Party. But it also is going to be interesting to watch them and see how they try to pull this off with less cash on hand than what they're typically used to. And we have an ace in the hole. The richest man on this planet, Elon Musk. Okay, Elon Musk. So when you add in that on top of the 600 million, I mean, our available funds is basically unlimited. We got the proverbial black card. The black credit card. That all the rich and famous people always have. Yeah, we got that card with no limit on it. We can do whatever. So that is some fantastic news as well. I just wanted to show that to you guys because I know, with mainstream media today, it's just a constant bombardment of terrible, bad news for Republicans. Oh, my goodness, the sky is falling. All right. Here's another great thing that I found quite interesting, too. Take a look at this. California poll. A Republican, and then Eric Swalwell. Which Katie Porter was running away with it until she absolutely wet the bed with the videos that leaked. And I actually made I made a video on the whole Katie Porter situation, which was quite interesting to watch, to say the least. She is an a-hole for sure. All right. So that's interesting. Now, do I think a Republican will actually win in California? Probably not. But the fact that it's even being thought about, I think says a lot. It says a lot. It says a whole lot. Here's another bit of great news. Ken Paxton. We got a new poll that recently dropped. Texas GOP primary chance of winning. Ken Paxton is up to 70% chance of winning, which is a new high for him. Now, these are just chances, okay? Let me make that clear. These are just chances, okay? But that is fantastic. That is fantastic. John Cornyn down to 22% and Wesley Hunt down to 8%, which the jury's out for me on Wesley Hunt. I used to like Wesley Hunt, if I'm being completely honest, but him jumping into this race just leaves a bad taste in my mouth because Ken Paxton announced that he was running against John Cornyn a long time ago. Long time ago. And for Wesley Hunt to randomly hop in much later, it just seems fishy to me. It seems fishy. You know, it's almost as if, you know, some John Cornyn donors hit up Wesley Hunt like, yo, hop in this race and try to spoil it for Ken, and we'll throw you a couple of dollars. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but it almost feels that way, right? Because Ken Paxton has been winning for quite a while now. Quite a while. He's been in the league for quite a while. So why is Wesley Hunt all of a sudden hopping in? It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense, especially since Ken Paxton, he's not a rhino. At least he doesn't give off rhino vibes to me. He gives off America first. He gives off, you know, no BS. As a matter of fact, he gives off kind of like a Trump demeanor. Like, we ain't playing no games kind of demeanor. So why would you hop in? I don't know. It just feels weird to me. And I like Wesley Hunt. I do. But I'm going to be watching him closely over the coming years. Very closely after this stunt here. That's weird. That's weird to me. But y'all let me know in the comments how you feel about it. All right. Now, on to the next interesting tidbit of news here. We got some crosstabs. And 2028 Dem primary crosstabs of the top 6 candidates. Out of the Black Democrats, they favor Kamala Harris by 61%. Newsom is down at 16%, AOC at 8%, Shapiro at 2%, Kelly and Buttigieg at 1%. Those are amongst black people. Amongst white folks, Kamala Harris at 28%, Gavin Newsom at 21%, AOC at 9%, Shapiro at 9%, Buttigieg 7%, blah, blah, blah. Hispanics, Kamala Harris at 51%, Newsom at 15%, AOC at 9%, Shapiro at 3%. Now, I say this is great because it looks like Kamala Harris may be the one that's on the ticket once again next year for the Democrat Party. And did I say next year? In 2028. And it seems like Kamala Harris is going to be the nominee for the Democrat Party come 2028. And we saw how that went last year. Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't last year, 2024. Excuse me. I'm just getting, my years are just all off now. Yeah. So it seems like Kamala Harris may be stepping back up to the plate once again to lose. Now, I do want to play this clip from Harry Enton as well, because he talks about something that's quite interesting with the Democrat Party. And I always say this. These are the monsters that the Democrat Party made. And now they must lie with them. Check it out.
The results from that special election, that Democratic primary in the 11th district in New Jersey, speak to a larger point within the Democratic Party, and that is that the far left is significantly more powerful than they once were. This sort of gives the game away here. Democrats who identify as very liberal or conservative. You know, there used to be a lot of conservative Democrats, right? Back in 1999, 26% of Democrats self-identified as conservative. Just 5% said that they were very liberal. It was a smidgen. Now that far left has gained considerably in power. Look at this. Now we're talking about a fifth of Democrats. 21% say they're very liberal. That conservative part of the Democratic Party, adios amigos, goodbye, just 8%. And when you combine the 21% who are very liberal with those who say that they're somewhat liberal, we're talking about 3 in 5 Democrats who identify as either somewhat liberal or very liberal, with the very liberals a much larger portion of the party. The far left, which used to just be a smidgen within the Democratic Party, has gained considerable power, as you saw in New Jersey's 11th district.
And these are leftists that only consider themselves far leftists, right? Which I would say a lot of them don't even consider themselves far left. So this number is actually even higher than this. This number is probably massive, huge, probably over 50%. Yeah, I'd guess over 50% at this point that are extremely far left, which is going to end very badly on a national scale.
What about Democratic socialists, like the likes of, you've got Bernie Sanders and or Zoran Mandani here in New York City? Where does that line up?
Okay, so on a separate question where you essentially, CNN asked this last year, which was, okay, Democrats who think of themselves as democratic socialists, among all Democrats, including those independents who lean towards the Democratic Party, look at this. We're talking about a third of all Democrats who identify as democratic socialists. Bernie Sanders and Zoran Mandani are not alone. They are a considerable part of the Democratic base at this point. And more than that, if you look at Democrats under the age of 35, they are nearly half of the Democratic Party. Look at this. 42% of Democrats think of themselves as democratic socialists under the age of 35, just like Zoran Mandani. What happened in New York City is not some aberration, right? It is not something that just happened in New York City. It is something that we are seeing grow within the Democratic Party at this particular point when we're talking about 42% of Democrats under the age of 35 identifying as democratic socialists and a third of all Democrats. My goodness gracious.
So if the ideology of the Democratic Party is shifting or changing, how are people feeling about it?
Okay, so we're talking about the Democratic base, right? But what about all Americans, right? How about all voters? Voters who say the Democrats are now too liberal. Look at this percentage. It was 42% in 96, 48% in 2013, now 58% in 2025 of all voters say that the Democratic Party is too liberal.
Bing, 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 bing. And if they're reporting 58%, what do you think the actual number is? See what I mean? You see what I mean? If that's the number that they are reporting, what is the actual number of Americans across this entire country who genuinely think the Democrat Party has gone way too far? It's a lot higher than that. So on a national scale, this far leftist stuff is a turnoff. It's a massive turnoff. But here's the problem. These Democrat politicians won't get elected if they don't play along with the far left, because that's their party now. That's their party. And so, yeah, they'll get some far leftists elected, right, or nominated, and then they'll lose to a Republican. And it's going to be amazing to watch. You know what else is amazing to watch? This right here. Breaking: CNN's ratings are in free fall. The network has lost 2/3 of primetime viewers since 2016. In 2016, they had 1.3 million views. Now, 553,000. Primetime viewership is down 60% over the decade. Crazy. 553,000. And they're on TV. They're on national television. Crazy how that works. Crazy how that works. Interesting how USAID gets shut down. Act Blue gets investigated. And it almost seems like everything for the Democrat Party is spiraling out of control. Their funding is down massively. Their networks, their propagandist networks are tanking. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. But I just wanted to bring that tidbit of great news to you guys, because I know in today's world, it's a nonstop bombardment of, oh, Trump bad, Republicans terrible, Trump bad. You know, there's some good news for you. All right? Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.